Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to the show, everybody. We've got a great guest for you today. I'm really looking forward to talking to her. She is a world traveler, and she is an author, and she's, I believe it's Sri Lanka that you were originally born. Is that right?
That's right. Born and raised in Sri Lanka.
Very good. And Nadee, pronounce your first name for me.
Nadee. That means river in Sanskrit, and Sri Lanka in Sinhalese. The language is based on Sanskrit, so it means river. Nadee.
Very good. Nadee Fernando O'Driscoll is with us today, and I'm excited because her husband came and was born from Dublin, Ireland. It's probably a really interesting story on how they met and stuff. But she's an author. She's also taking on a very big challenge that I think that we all need to take on together. And that's number one, because she's a world traveler. She understands a little bit more about how life is around the world and how people are being treated around the world. And it's not just any one particular place. It's not Western society. It's Eastern society. It's Middle Eastern society. And it all has to do with equality and women and men and people of color and people that live differently than you do. It's all based on that and the hate, division, and fear that seems to be rising among all of that. So Nadee, thank you for being here. I'm so proud that you're here.
Thank you for having me, Kevin. Pleasure is all mine.
Oh, very good. Now, now you're in Canada now. How'd you end up in Canada from all the way over in the Eastern or in the Orient or the Asia? Whatever you call it.
Interesting story, and that goes back to partially the issues that I talk about, the social biases and the traditions. But long story short, it was my first marriage that brought me to a beautiful country that I call home, Canada, in Ottawa.
Oh, Canada's a beautiful place, and it will never. I'm here to tell you, everybody right now who's listening, it will never, ever be the 51st state of the United States.
Never. Elbows up.
Oh, it's just not going to happen because number one, I know a lot of Canadian people, and I've talked to a lot of them, and for some reason, you guys just seem to be a little bit more enlightened than we are, and you seem to take care of each other a little bit better and be kinder to each other than we are down here. And so I'm glad you made it to Canada, and you're happily living there, and you've got a new husband, Mr. O'Driscoll.
I do. Yes, he is. He's my North Star.
He's your what?
He's my North Star, as we say.
Oh, North Star. Got it. Got it.
That brings me home. So, I am an immigrant. He's an immigrant. We are a multicultural, multiracial family. And that is all what Canada is about. And that, I believe, is all humanity is about, right? We are all people at the end of the day in different colors, different way of speaking, religions, non-religion. At the end of the day, we are all human in different packaging.
Well, it's interesting. You just made me think of something. There was a movie that Kevin Costner was in. It was The Adventures of Robin Hood, and there was an Arab. I forget his name. It'll come to me. But he was a character in the movie, and he said, "God created wondrous variety of people from all over the world, and that variety of all kinds should be celebrated, not feared." Do you agree?
Absolutely. Now, let me ask a question. Would you prefer to watch a black and white movie or a colored movie?
Do you remember? Here's another reference for you that you may not know. And did you ever see The Wizard of Oz?
Ah, yes, I have.
And when she opens the door of the house that just got blown from here to Oz, and it was the first time, because that part is in black and white, and then she opens the door and that's in color. That is what we're talking about, the wondrous variety of all the colors and all the looks, that when it's just a black and white deal, it doesn't have the same feel to it. And so yeah, I prefer watching everything in color nowadays. Of course, when I was young, there was no such thing. It was all black and white. But that's a story for another time. But your point is well taken, and a wondrous variety, and how people live their lives differently, the different cultures, and not to mention the foods that people have developed over time. We should be celebrating all of that.
We should be, and it's such a wonderful thing. I mean, we are constantly striving to find something new, right? We are constantly striving to learn, experience things new. But at the same time, when something is given to you that is different, perhaps something that doesn't look like you or talk like you or don't feel like you, then all of a sudden there's this fear, this fear that's born inside you, and you turn your back on that. That's kind of a conundrum. Like, we are looking to improve ourselves, and improve ourselves means trying to achieve something that we currently don't have, right? Whether it's happiness or money, better health, whatever it is. We are like, the society is constantly evolving, and at the same time there seems to be a struggle where we are trying to hold that back. And so if we make peace with the fact that we are constantly evolving, and that's the way that nature is meant to be. If we don't evolve, if we are stagnant, then we'll eventually die out, whether it's the human form, animal form, or whether it's a culture. It has to be relevant, right?
Yep. So now I got to ask you, why do you think it is that as we continue to evolve, and this is not a United States deal, or it's a worldwide phenomenon, the rich want to get richer, and in order to get richer, they keep the working class and they keep them down so that they can't achieve more and to live a better life. Why do you think that those people take that attitude?
Greediness, perhaps. I mean, if we can just share what we have just a little bit, like, do I really need $44 billion all to myself? The
You know
answer
what?
is no.
I ask that question all the time. First of all, for those of you who say, "Wow, $44 billion is not that much money," I want you to think about this. A dollar is a single number. Now, 100 times a dollar is $100. 1,000 times a dollar is $1,000. A million times a dollar is $1,000,000. You know how many millions of dollars it takes? 1,000,000,000 to equal 1 billion.
It is a lot of money. And when I say that I don't really need it, I don't mean it in a negative way, in the sense that I shouldn't I shouldn't go after riches, that I shouldn't work hard to earn the money. What I'm saying is, if I have $44 billion, there's a lot that I can do, a lot of good that I can do in this world,
Absolutely.
right?
And yeah, absolutely. And people, rather than putting, I don't know, $80 million into a yacht, or $400 million into a plane, you don't need how much is too much, I guess it would be, and for people that are not willing to share their good fortune with others, what good are we here for? What is the purpose of life if we can't share it with others to help other people achieve? Because isn't that the highest service you can have, is to have is to help other people serve, or you serve other people to help them achieve best? That can be a generational change for hundreds and thousands of people and millions of
Absolutely.
people.
Yeah. And we do have a lot of people that lives that kind of life, like exemplary, right? Like for example, if you take uh, I'm sorry, the name is escaping me, the person who owns Microsoft. Oh my God.
Oh, Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, there we go. Yes, like he does a lot of good in the world with his money, and there are a lot of people like that who has the money and who's using that money for good purposes. So, like being rich is not a bad thing. Like because
No,
you have the money, you can help others, right? And and even from I'm not a rich person, but the fact that I'm in this current situation, a comfortable situation in my life, that's what allows me to take time off, to write my book and to get on this mission of trying to create positive change, right? If I'm constantly at a crunch trying to make a living, then I wouldn't have had this time. And it's been like I've been in that situation, like on survival mode, where I had to concentrate on my work, raising my daughter. Like those things were a priority at a time. But now, because I have come to this stage in life where I'm comfortable enough, I can use my time. I can use my time to do something a little bit bigger than to help the rest of the world or try and create a positive change. So, living comfortably or being rich, I don't think it's a bad thing. It is just what you do with it.
and I honestly believe that, well, I know this is that being of service to others is the highest form of really, I guess duty would be a good word to use, or the highest form of achieving more in life. Because I firmly believe that when our days are done here and we get to go to the other side, there's going to be somebody that's going to say, okay, so tell me, what did you do for other people in your life? How did you affect change? How did you make something better? How did you help the planet and the people, everybody that's on it, all 8 billion of us, by the way? How did you help make it a little bit better for somebody? And if you don't have a good answer for that, I don't know what's going to happen. But it, it just amazes me. But there are so many people that are so fearful of, I can't do that, or I can't be. It's just amazes me. And you have got a lot more life experience in other parts of the world, and in Asia and in India, and it's that way everywhere. Um, why do you think that is? And if you had to pick the most enlightened society, I think Canada's close, but an enlightened
Yeah.
society that you would feel comfortable living in, where would that be?
Canada is a pretty good place to live, and I would like Ireland is too. The Republic is a really, really good place to live. People are very friendly. People are very accepting. I mean, of course, there are parts of the society, segments of the society who don't see eye to eye about certain things. Immigration is an issue all over the world, from what I'm seeing. But Canada is a pretty good place, and I'm proud to call it my home.
Well,
And
I've met a lot of Canadians, and I have not yet met a bad one. Maybe
and
you guys are hiding them someplace. I don't.
I think a part of it is by and large we are a very accommodating society. We like it's the country is built um, with immigrants, right? And we are cognizant and appreciative of the fact that this is native land, and we respect that as well,
Exactly, and
right?
well, and we need to take a break, and when we come back, I want to talk about this because, you know, I don't know if you know this, but at one time there weren't any white people here. It was just people that had been here for thousands of years. and they were Native Americans, or they were in Canada, and they were Eskimos, and they were Native people here, and then we came and we invaded the place, and now there are people who were immigrants. Because if you talk to anybody, any person in the United States, and you say, okay, where are you from? And they'll say, well, my dad came from Denmark, my wife came from Ireland, I came from Kenya, and so it's like, okay, so we all came from somewhere else, and now we are, um, because now it's ours, I guess. We're not talking in terms of, well, we're all immigrants. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
time. It's just a matter of when. And so when we take the time to go, um, cast aspersions upon newer immigrants. I mean, at one time, the Irish were considered, the Germans were considered, the Asians were considered, and Vietnamese were considered aliens, and now they're all been absorbed. And so
Exactly.
so now we've got people that were absorbed that are now saying, "Oh, I'm here, and we migrated here, but I don't want anybody else to have the same opportunities I had." So we're going to talk more about that when we come back, and also the differences between men and women, and why we are not taking care of 50% of our brain power, because there's some really, including you, there are some really smart women in the world that we could be utilizing them to a much greater degree. And we shall return in just a moment. And if you're a real estate agent, listen to this. This is important.
You became a real estate agent for freedom, success, and real momentum. So why are you still stuck waiting for closings to save you? I'm Ophir Adar, founder of Real Momentum, and I help agents like you become seven-figure earners. My first client that I coached, brand new agent, made $250,000 back in 2006. What's the secret? You feed your white wolf. That's the part of you that's bold and unstoppable and a closer and able to build rapport quickly. So click Get Listings at Real Momentum and let's unleash your real estate potential.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Nadee, could you hear that music?
I could, yeah.
Oh, yay, it's back. Sometimes in computer land it works, and sometimes it doesn't. And
Yeah.
this time I'm glad it works. And by the way, Nadee Fernando O'Driscoll is with us. She is a world traveler. She's now, have you been to Ireland yet with your husband?
Yes, I have several times.
Oh,
Wonderful country, beautiful country.
and I have always wanted, I gotta believe that I wanted to go to a real honest to goodness Irish pub.
Oh, you gotta
And
go.
I imagine those are just great fun.
Oh, yes, great, great crack, as they say. And you got to have a pint of Guinness.
Gotta have a pint of Guinness, and perhaps even more than one pint of Guinness, if you know what I
Yep,
mean.
definitely more than one.
Uh, and you've been in a lot of places, so tell us, and we're going to talk about your book in the second half of the show, but tell us why you're taking this project of equality and taking care of each other and being kind to one another. Why are you taking this on?
So, well, as I mentioned, like I grew up in Sri Lanka. It's a beautiful island in South Asia, but amidst all that beauty, there is a certain demon, if I am to call that, and that is these traditional archaic values. When I say value, I use that term very loosely because these are traditional beliefs that has gotten embedded in the culture, so people are respecting them or carrying them as values. And some of these, they are very discriminatory,
Yes.
and they has no value towards a progressive society. And so, like for an example, colorism was prevalent. I grew up with it. And as a 3, 4 year old child, I have heard people who were really close to me, who actually love me, lovingly tell me, how disappointing my mother was, because she wanted a fair-skinned child, and here I am born with a brown chocolate colored skin. And this was not meant, they didn't mean to hurt me. And they said this to me lovingly. And I have seen my little 6-year-old cousin with beautiful big black eyes, curly hair, and skin as dark as me, being told that she needs to eat vegetables, her greens, because that's the only way that she can get her skin to light. Now imagine a 6-year-old child, a little girl, being told that. Right?
Okay,
But
so help me understand what we're talking about. We're not, are you telling me that not only is being an African American or a white person, but now it depends upon the color of your skin, if you're a little darker, or that your ethnic background has Asian in it or Filipino in it way back when, and your skin is a little darker, that you're discriminated against based upon that as well?
absolutely, like in South Asia, colorism is very, very prevalent. Like you take Bollywood, it's a huge industry. How many dark color, like when I say dark, like me, how many actresses do you see who look like me? Like if you have listened to Priyanka Chopra, who is very light skinned, she's mentioned in one of her interviews that she was considered dusky. She was called dusky, and she's very light skinned. So in our parts of the world, there's a value. There's a value to your color of the skin. If anyone looks like me, we are not considered good looking or beautiful. You have to be light skinned to be considered a woman, not a man, a woman. Now, when that's being told to you, like even in school plays, you will see this discrimination. Often girls with light skin being picked to be on the front of the stage, whereas the dark skinned kids will be at the back. And we grew up with this. And to be frank, Kevin, I don't ever recall being hurt by this, because it was a fact of life. It was just the way it is. So we all strived to lighten our skin. For the longest time, I used every skin lightening skin under the sun that I could, again, every skin lightening cream, and trying to get lighter until I smartened up. And when someone told me once, oh, she's dark skinned, even though she has a beautiful smile, I said, well, you know what? I am dark and I am Cleopatra reincarnation. And I took that power back.
Good for you. Good for you. I'm just sitting here just amazed, because did you know that there's an entire industry in the United States which are tanning bed salons, where people go there so that they can get darker?
I know the grass is green on the other side, right? But like these issues, sometimes they seem harmless, especially when they get embedded in the culture.
But they're not harmless.
Well, that's what people think, right? They don't think like a mother wouldn't want to hurt her child on purpose. It's so embedded in their minds. It's so embedded in their upbringing, they just don't even realize how harmful it is. So we need to talk about those things. Now, colorism is just one issue. What really propelled me on taking a stand, and what brings me here today, is there are plenty of other issues, as a plethora of issues. Take from adoption stigma to how the societies assign a value to a woman's virginity, how that a woman is perceived to be second-handed or damaged goods if she's not a virgin for her husband. Now, these issues, they have deep-rooted repercussions.
And
I'm sorry.
Nadee, I want to, because I just brought her up, and I just want to introduce you to Rochelle. I don't know if you met her before.
We
I
did.
believe we did, yes.
Yes. Nice to see you, and I'm so happy to be here. And sorry to cut you off. So go ahead and
That's
continue
okay.
what you were saying.
I was talking about, the impact of these traditional beliefs. It's not just saying, for an example, let's take this expectation of a woman to remain a virgin until the day that she gets married. Number one, it's not practical. It's not practical because there are a lot of women who don't follow that.
Yep.
Instead, what they do is if the person that they were intimate with doesn't happen to be the person that they're getting married to, they are forced to live unauthentic lives, right? So, and how they do that is either they lie, or else, like, there are medical clinics, cosmetic clinics that promote procedures, medical procedures like hymen reconstruction surgery. Now, if as an individual you want to do that for yourself, that's your business. But if a society is telling you somehow you are not good enough, as a woman, you are not good enough unless you can prove yourself to be a virgin. You are not worthy unless you are a virgin to get married. Well, no, society has no right to do that. And you don't expect that from a man, right? And
No,
proving that is
no,
really hard.
there's not a there's not a society out there where it says, oh no, man, you need to KYPIP until you get married, and that stands for keep your Peter in your pants until you're married. And they'd say, oh no, sorry, that's just not going to happen and stuff. And so because the laws and the customs are being written predominantly by men, that's why they get the easy way out, and women get told they have to do life in a certain way where it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. And these rules were written, these expectations were set in place like thousands, hundreds of years ago, right? They're not practical. And but the other side of having these beliefs is, now let me share a story or something that I came across. In 2017, there was an advertisement that was placed in a magazine in the United Kingdom in London. And that advertisement was placed by a cosmetic clinic in Sri Lanka. And they were promoting hymen reconstruction surgery. And their campaign slogan was, "We help rape victims regain their dignity." Now think of that statement. There itself, number one, they are saying it is the victim who has lost the dignity. Number two, for that advertisement to be placed, how many layers it would have had to go through? First, whoever came up with the campaign slogan, and the medical clinic is run by doctors. And then it had to go through the magazine editor, whoever is printing it. Didn't anyone ever think, what's the meaning of that slogan? What's the message it's portraying? And I'm sure they all thought that they are helping women. Now, that's the problem with this kind of ingrained beliefs in a society. When you are born to those kind of beliefs, traditional, archaic belief that has no place in a society, you grow up with that, and doesn't matter what your level of education is, you are not thinking that there's anything wrong with that because you are blinded by the culture. Right? Like, how dare someone think that it is a rape victim that has lost the dignity?
Yeah.
And it's not surprising at all. Like, most of the time, women don't even report these crimes.
And that's why.
Society. That is why.
That's why. Exactly.
Yeah, the society is looking at them like they're secondhand goods. They're damaged goods somehow. So of course they're not going to come out.
And in a lot of countries, and especially like in this one, if the person who's being accused of this horrible crime has got the means, they can then put that woman through, or man, depending, put them through hell, because now it's like, oh, it was consensual, wasn't it? You asked for it. What were you wearing that day? Did you have makeup on? Did you have eyelashes on? What caused you to get him so crazy that he couldn't pretend? You know what I mean? And they do this, and they blame the woman or the man whichever, that was the victim. And so now they're victimized twice.
Exactly. And for the perpetuity, right? If a woman comes out with this information, then she is risking that stigma on her for the rest of her life. So, perhaps it's easier for them just to hide it and carry this burden with them suffering silently throughout their life. And that's why we need to change this. That's why we need to talk about them. And the other part is, in these traditional societies, they tell a woman you need to be a virgin, but sex is a taboo subject.
Yep.
Right? They don't even talk about it.
Mhm.
So sometimes you have like women who have not ever had a boyfriend or a relationship ever, and all of a sudden they don't know what intimacy is.
Yep.
And they're put in certain situations where they don't even have the experience or the knowledge to react to it or to understand what exactly they are getting into. So, there are so many tentacles of these kind of issues that and we'll probably need more than just a couple of hours to talk about it, but we need to talk about them.
Yeah.
Well, and in the Muslim world, and if you are if you give your life up in like a bombing or whatever, and you become a martyr, and you get what is it, 70 virgins,
72.
72
Yep.
virgins? It's like, I don't think can you throw somebody in there with a little bit of experience to teach the other ones, please? That would be really good, because what a waste of time. So, by the way, we're talking with Ned and Brachelle. Her name, she's got a great name, by the way. Nadee Fernando O'Driscoll. I love the O'Driscoll part. We're all going to Ireland to go to a pub together, and you got to have a Guinness. And we need to take our halftime break, and we'll be right back. And Brachelle, how are you? It's great to see you again.
I'm good, and I've already got a question. So let's take our break and I'll ask.
Yeah, very good, because okay, I could go on and on, but we'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk. Sometimes this podcast or radio shows like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Sometimes the music plays and sometimes it doesn't, but I'm glad it plays today. And Nadee is with us. And and Brachelle, you had a question for her.
Yes. So I wondered, as I'm thinking about all these things, all the statistics, all the people, and you bringing up any form of trauma is trauma. We look at childhood trauma, we look at abuse trauma, we look at all these different things that we go through. Anything sexual trauma is trauma. So I kind of have the same question you do, I guess, and I'm trying to figure out a way to phrase it for you, because like, do you have some sort of maybe understanding of why we see that as so different than just a trauma we should talk about and acknowledge, and something that should bring us together rather than push us apart, especially as women?
Well, I don't have an expert answer, but this is just my opinion and it comes
Yeah,
from my
yeah, for
heart.
sure.
Um, Sometimes women are the worst enemies of ourselves.
Hmm.
Um, from coming from a traditional society, I see a lot of women upholding these beliefs, these values. Perhaps it could be that they have gone through some trauma or experience some form of trauma. And as mothers, they don't want their children to live through that. So, as a preventative measure, they try to conform their children to grow up in fitting into these boxes that the society has defined instead of going against them. So they might be upholding these values and propagating them, or else the other. And I do know some people who had gone through trauma. Um, they seem to be very judgmental about other people. Perhaps that's a reaction to trauma. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know, but I do struggle to understand if you have gone through and if you have been a victim of a certain situation, why you would be so judgmental about others. So I wish that it isn't the case that we all can come together and say, this is wrong. We all need to stand up for ourselves and speak against all these societal biases, the shackles, everything that discriminates and hurts us. Uh,
Hmm.
so I don't know the answer. I often wonder about that too. But I do see that happening with women, especially in traditional societies. They seem, even though those behaving in those values are very, very detrimental to us, we seem to
Yeah.
somehow promote them.
Yeah. I was ready for a question, but I'm gonna let Kevin go. Go ahead.
And this is maybe not going to be positive with everybody, and I don't expect it to be, because I really think that one of the biggest aspects of humanity that we have to fix and to get out is the art of religious fundamentalism.
Mhm.
Because in the writings of the Torah, the writings of the Bible, in the Old Testament, they've got things that are just abhorrent to, and we would never do that in our society today, except there are segments of people who believe in those writings from 3,000 years ago or whatever, however long they were, hook, line, and sinker. And so therefore, the people that are fundamentalist believers in that, they tend to not be as open to
Mhm.
change, as open to somebody else, because that's not what the book says. And rather than understanding that some of that was a guideline, some of it we don't even in the use anymore, but there are people that still stick to it because that's all they know. That's what they grew up with, that's what they know. And especially and I'd love your opinion on this. But first, we'll have Rochelle say something because I how about following that up with something interesting to say?
Well, no, you're touching on such a good point, Kevin, because we always mention how it is positive to be different. There's no reason that we can't be different and still respect each other. That's where we have this delay and this lag that in humanity right now, that's like, okay, you're different, you think something different, anything that brings difference is put as a negative now. And it's okay to have beliefs, it's okay to be whoever and whatever you are. That's the point of earth, right? Like,
Yeah.
you can be whatever you want, but why do we need to? Okay, let me rephrase this in a positive way. What are ways that you think that could be so simple but so huge if we as humans were to allow the change of difference?
Amazing. Amazing. That's exactly what Kevin and I were talking at the beginning of the show, this very thing.
Mhm.
It's our differences that makes this earth a beautiful place,
Yeah,
right?
we
We
can
travel,
learn.
exactly. I mean, we travel across the world to see different places, to see the
Yes.
beauty, right? Like I've never seen snow in my life until I went to India for studies, and we went to Himalaya, and there we were like rolling in snow. So we were like, oh my God, right? And then people here, they travel across the world to go see exotic places, or like to go to a safari in Africa, or to go to Asia, look at their culture.
Well, and
eat
even
the
to
food.
meet people with different cultures.
Yes.
That's the point.
Absolutely, it makes us whole. It makes this place that much better, a beautiful place, an exciting place to live in. And yet here we are.
And there are some cultures that, as an example, there are some cultures that they take these two sticks and then they eat with them. I've never figured out that concept. I have no idea. So I only hope that they got a fork for me or a spoon or something, or I'll bring my own. But other than that, the food, it can be wonderful. It's Freeman Morgan who said this in Robin Hood with Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. He said, our world is full of wondrous diversity. We need to celebrate the wondrous diversity of us all, because I would get tired. Go ahead.
No, Kevin, what you just said, I had an experience. A few days ago, I was out getting lunch and we were eating somewhere with chopsticks. My family is Asian culture, Cambodian, and she's young. She didn't learn how to use the chopsticks. Why? Because she grew up with white people and we eat with forks, and that's okay. So she didn't know how to use them. And rather than the situation of the woman being like looking down on her, frowning upon her as her own culture, not understanding something, she doesn't know any better. So don't get mad at her. She sat down, she talked to us, she learned about how her culture was different than my cousins, and she taught her how to use chopsticks and taught her multiple ways. Here's the options for you. You have smaller hands, you have this, you have that. And she engaged with us as humans. It no longer mattered what clothes we were wearing, what color our hair was, how much makeup we had on, what ethnicity we were, and how nice our shoes were. She didn't care. She was there in the moment with us. And that not only taught me a huge lesson looking forward to watch for that around me, but it taught my cousin, hey, it's okay if you don't know something. There's people here that are still going to be supporting and loving and are willing to teach you. And now you can take that forward and teach someone else.
And Michelle, I have to ask you this, because we were talking about this before you got here. And I think that Nadee has got a wonderfully colored complexion.
Yeah, beautifully.
Oh, thank you.
And it's really,
I call myself pasty until I get tan.
Beautiful.
and do you know, in her culture, she's considered too dark,
which is weird. I mean, like, and you see, that's where we have that judgment too. When we see complexion, we see, oh, they're this, they're that. There's so many branches of so many races. Even for, we group, oh, you're black or you're white or you're tan or you're colored or you're Mexican or whatever you are. But there's so many more than that. You can be Spain Spanish, you can be Mexican Spanish, you can be from opposite sides of India, you can be from anywhere around the world. The point is to appreciate each as our own and how that's different. I think we should praise you because you're different. You stand out. You're original. There's nobody else that's like, oh yeah, well, I don't have a glowing perfection like Nadee, but I love myself too. And so it brings that in. They differentiated you for no reason.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just seeing the beauty in a person for who they are, right?
Yeah.
Like seeing beauty in everything, like your color, the shape of your eyes, the color of your, like, if it is just one color, it will be boring.
Yeah.
It is the spirit and the energy that you bring forward every time you have an interaction with somebody. Yeah. I met somebody the other day that was homeless. She was in front of the 7-Eleven and had a dirty a comforter that was all she owned. And every time I walked by her and I said hello, she had this radiant smile and she said, "How you doing, boo?" And even though I'm an old white guy, and she was a black lady, but she had this energy about her. And so I respect, even though she was homeless, I respected her as a human being because of her attitude and how she treated other people. And so I did something nice for her, but it was important that she understood that how you doing, boo, to an old white guy is a nice thing to say to somebody.
Yeah, it is.
It
And
is.
I know we need to take a break, Nadee, but I want to ask you because I think a lot of what we're talking about with coming down to judgment has to do with insecurity.
A
And
lot,
so I
yes.
kind of want to ask about that. But Kevin, I'll let you take us into the break.
Thank you very much. We're talking with Nadee Fernando O'Driscoll,
I love how
and
you
we're
say
going to an
that.
Irish pub later on today, and we're going to have a fine time. And I can't do the Spanish part, so I'll have Rochelle do that since she speaks Spanish. And all the she's also got a great book out. It's called Labyrinth of Dreams. I want you to go to Nadee Frisco dot no, Danny. We'll be right back, and then I'll pronounce the website when we come back. At least that may be a pipe dream, but that's the hope. We'll be right back. It's just going to be 30 seconds, so mind your manners. We'll be right back.
When the game is on the line, championship teams know the game plan. They communicate and work together to win. We all need a game plan to protect ourselves online. Talk to family and friends so they know how to stay safe too. Create strong passwords, turn on multi-factor authentication, update software, and recognize and report phishing, because online safety is not something you want to fumble. Get more game-winning tips at CISA.gov/secure our world. Then share them with family and friends.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Rochelle. And my name is Kevin McDonald. And first of all, could you tell us what your website is? I have troubles.
No problem. Sounds like you need a pint of Guinness.
Hey, it's a Friday afternoon. You know.
So it's Nadee Fernando O'Driscoll.com. www.nadeefernando.o'driscoll.com.
Yes,
And there's
stay with
there
us
is
when we
a
come back from the break because I will be putting that on if you're watching this in video. Sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
and there is a dash between
Yep.
Fernando and O'Driscoll.
Yes. Not on the
And-
website, I believe.
And
We'll put
you
it up there.
yes, and you have written the book Labyrinth of Dreams. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Labyrinth of Dreams, it is a fictional novel, but it is based on a true story. And it involves people who are an integral part of me. It's a story about a young woman who was forced to give up her child because she was pregnant out of wedlock. That, of course, unfolded in 1970s in Sri Lanka. And then fast forwarded to 2024, she decided to tell this story, her history, to children that she later on had and raised, and how those her children that she raised, how they then decided to find this child that was given up for adoption, and how they face the ugly side of the society, the truth of the society, where still hasn't changed since 1970. They still hold on to these archaic values, traditions, and biases, and how adoption stigma still is, by and large. So that's what, like this, it's a story, it's heartbreaking itself. When I first heard this, it was like, oh my God, am I watching a movie or is this a script from somewhere? So that's what made me want to start writing the story, because I wanted to share that it's not just about a tragic story, but it's a story about resilience as well, how the next generation, how they decided to, break themselves free from this traditional way of thinking, break free from the shackles, and how they found their peace, right? But what took me on a different path of making the mission, or to say merging my mission and passion together, is when I realized that these societal biases, that they need to change. I've lived through them, I have experienced them, I have seen them firsthand, And for the most part, growing up, I sort of, I was never one who followed those rules. I was never one who fit into those boxes. So I was a pariah in that society. But how we survived was sort of bubble wrapped ourselves with like-minded people. So there are a lot of people who don't follow those archaic biases, right? But by and large, the society still uphold those values. And as a result, there is a lot of people who suffer under those, especially the most vulnerable in the society. The human cost is huge. So when I was faced with this reality, like listening to this story, writing this down, and reminiscing on all these experiences that I have had in my past, my friends, my family, and that became just too much to bear, too much just to brush them aside and say, hey, I am good. I survived. I escaped. That wasn't enough. I felt like I needed to talk about them and create positive change, because talking about these issues, that's the only way to make people start thinking about them. I came from that society. I have friends, some friends who still believe in these societies, these biases. Family members who still uphold these societal biases or values. So when I talk about them, someone that came from that society, I think someone might just stop and think, is there a truth to what she's saying? When I talk about how absurd it is to take a person who's been adopted and look at that person as a second-class citizen just because that person was adopted. I mean, that's not his or her fault, right? So now there is a child who was already a victim at the hands of he or her or their birth parents, and now re-victimized by a society simply for being an adoptee. How absurd is that? Now, there are a lot of underlying issues, like, be it the caste, the class, and how people in traditional societies that still sort of uphold these really nonsensical biases. Like, caste, what is it? What is a caste? Right? So all these issues, we need to talk about them. And I think people, they do understand that these biases are wrong. Because if you talk to people one-on-one, they will most likely agree with you. But when it comes to their personal lives, for an example, like you go and talk to people, like in my generation, we talk about the caste system, like saying how absurd that is. They'll say, yeah, it's old-fashioned, but you take them to a situation like where you have to get married, you will see them looking for someone of their own caste, still upholding those values secretly. So that's not real change. That is just you being complete, because you are wrong. You know that those are very old-fashioned values, that they have no place in a progressive modern society. So you don't share your honest opinion about them. But that's not real change if you're still harboring them individually. If you're still looking at a person and saying, oh, well, that person is not good enough for my son, my daughter, because he or she is an adoptee, well, that's not real progress. You're still wrong, whether you admit it openly or not. And the same thing, like, sometimes you see people growing up in abusive families. You see a father abusing a mother, and children grow up. A son might say, I'm never going to do that. But because you grow up in that society, and the society doesn't really do much to change that, they say, yeah, it's wrong, but you're not being punished for the crime that you're committed, right? So the children grow up amidst of that, and somewhere deep down buried in their mind, you have those, I don't want to even call them values, but what you saw as normal, the norm. And all it takes is an extreme situation where a person is angry, and then you resort to that.
Well, and Nadee, I got to tell you, and by the way, Rochelle, did you have a question before we continue? I know
No. I'm just going to, at this time, ask you to come back, Nadee, because we have much more to talk about. But I'll let Kevin kind of take us out of the show. I want to share everything about your information and all that stuff.
Well, and I got something even better.
Ooh.
I've already offered, and this is, and Nadee, thank you so much for being here, because you've given me the understanding and the purpose of what I'm about to say, which is I started a show called My Independence Report a long time ago, and we've just let it sit there, and people are still downloading it. And so we're bringing it back. And the idea behind it is going to be, we're going to work to eliminate hate, division, and fear amongst everybody. We're going to recognize and realize that we are all one. We come from the same place. We are all here for each other, and to be kind to each other is paramount. And Nadee has already agreed, Rochelle, to come on to one of our first shows, and we're going to take some of the ideas from this show. It's just going to be a 15 or 20-minute show, so it's going to be a lot shorter, but it's going to have impact, because we're not going to be a Republican, we're not going to be a Democrat, we're going to be a humanist. People that are interested in taking care of each other for the betterment of each other and to be of service to each other. Rochelle, that's exciting to me that she's going to be a part of it.
Yes, I think it's the perfect start. And like he said, again, thank you for being here, Nadee. I think just you being able to present an idea of standing up to talk about an opinion without being shamed for it is huge. And I believe that it starts with one person. The domino effect is real, and you'll probably affect millions and millions of people. And I'm happy to have you here with us to speak to everybody that's a part of our little family and Positive Talk. And I'm excited for the conversation and to start this up. So thank you, everybody, for being here. And if you are watching this, I'm going to put on the screen Nadee Fernando O'Driscoll.com. Go there and find anything you need to about Nadee and working with her. And before we leave, Nadee, is there anything you'd like to share?
Just want to thank you, and for all the people out there who is taking a stand, trying to make a positive change in whichever way, in the most minute way, it doesn't matter. So thank you to everyone. And thank you, Kevin and Rochelle, for bringing me and giving me this opportunity.
Of course.
And I'm going to tell you this. There's a change afoot. There are people, millions of people, that are interested in positive change. They recognize that we are all one people, regardless of where we come from, what we look like, who we love, or the sex that we are, or the sex that we want to be. Doesn't matter. And there are millions of us that are going to work for positive change. And it's going to take time, but it can be done. And it's people like you, Nadee, that are leading the charge. And I'm proud to know you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin@kmmedia.pro.